Hey, if you're looking to create a set of financial projections for a surgery center or a surgery practice, then you've come to the right place because we have built a financial projection template built specifically for surgeons or surgery facilities, practices, that sort of thing. I'm going to walk you through how this template can be used, how to fill it out, and how it can be used to help you raise capital from an SBA loan or maybe from potential investors, and really just kind of take you through step by step. I'm going to put a link to this template in the description of the video below so you can grab that and follow along. Also, if you stick around to the very end of the video, as a thank you for sticking around, I'm going to give you access to a discount code so that you can take a discount on this particular template. And then lastly, I guess just a little bit of background on me. My name's Adam Hoeksema. I'm the co-founder of Projection Hub. Prior to starting Projection Hub, I was an SBA lender for 12 years where we helped over 1,500 small businesses secure an SBA loan during my time there, and really started Projection Hub with this idea of trying to help our clients who were always struggling with the projection aspect of the SBA process. And so that's really kind of what drove me to start the business, and what I'm hoping this template's going to help you through that process, make it a little bit easier. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and dive in and show you how this template works. Okay, we're going to start here on the at a glance tab. So this is kind of the end of the process. So after you have filled out all of your assumptions and gone through the revenue and expense and startup cost assumptions for your business, this is kind of the end of the process. You're going to get a number of charts and graphs and tables that you can pull into a business plan or a pitch deck. You're also going to get a 5-year income statement summary, a 5-year cash flow summary, 5-year balance sheet, and then the income statement, cash flow, and balance sheet all broken down by month for each of the 5 years. So this is going to get you everything you need for an SBA loan application. In order to produce these reports, though, we have a little bit of work to do, so we got to fill out these input tabs. So I'm going to come back to our input assumptions here. And the first thing that you need to know is that every cell that's highlighted in blue is an assumption you can change without breaking anything in the model. So we're going to start here. We've got a surgery practice, and we have a projection start month of January 1st. We're going to assume this is a startup, and so we have 0 in the opening cash balance. Maybe you are going to put in $50,000 as an initial personal investment, and then also maybe you have partners or other investors that are going to put in an additional $200,000. So we've got an initial investment of $250,000 into the business. On the accounts payable side, so this is how fast you pay your bills, essentially. So we're going to assume that you pay 80% of the expenses incurred in the month paid during that month. Maybe 20% you're putting on a credit card or something. You incurred the expense now, but you don't actually have to pay the credit card off until the following month. On the accounts receivable side, this is a big assumption here. We have this average days sales outstanding, this days to collect. So if you're billing to insurance, you're going to provide the service, do the surgery, right? Or provide the service and then bill insurance, and you could wait 30, 45, 60 days, right? So, this ends up being making a large impact on your cash flow. And so we set that as 60 days, depending on your unique situation and maybe whether you have any customers that are going to pay cash, that could lower the amount of days that it might take to get paid. And then depending on insurance, it could potentially even be longer than the 60 days. So that's really something you'll probably want to adjust based on your specific scenario. On the inventory, we're just kind of assuming inventory is not really a thing. You're going to have supplies, but you're not really selling a product that you're holding in inventory. You're going to have, supplies that will be used for the surgery, for example, but we just put 0 in here for inventory. Now, what we're going to assume here, and we know there's lots of different ways to kind of think about the business model, a surgery practice. So, you could be a surgeon, could have one entity, right? And you are your own little business, right? And you are renting out space at a surgery center effectively. And so maybe the client, the patient is really getting separate bills from the surgery center, from you as a surgeon, from maybe the anesthesiologist. In from the perspective of this financial model, the way we're going to think about this is kind of, let's assume you're you're modeling out a surgery practice where you're going to own the real estate, or own the equipment, own the facility, right? You wouldn't necessarily have to own the actual building, but let's say you're going to charge the customer. This business is going to charge the customer for the facility fee as well as the fee for the surgeon, anesthesiologist and all that. So that will all be kind of your revenue. So that's kind of the mindset I'm using here. So in this example, then we're saying, okay, let's say we decide we're going to rent some space, but we need to do some renovation. So we've got leasehold improvements here of $250,000 that we need to renovate the space that we're leasing in order to get it up to par for our facility. We also are going to have some equipment. So let's say we have some diagnostic equipment, maybe x-ray machines, that sort of thing, at $100,000, sterilization equipment at $25,000, surgical equipment at $100,000, and then we have furniture at $50,000. Now, obviously, all of these numbers could vary dramatically depending on what kind of surgery you're doing and, the scale of what kind of build out you're doing, how many different rooms you're going to have, surgery rooms you're going to have. So, lots could be changed here based on your specific plans. Maybe this is a time to just take a quick pause and mention we do have a template fill out service. So if you're this far into the video and you're thinking, man, I just wish I could tell someone, what my plans are and they just fill the thing out for me based on my plans, we can do that. We can help with that. So if that's something you'd like our help with, reach out to us at support@projectionhub.com. Just email us and let us know that you're interested in help filling out the template, and we'd be happy to do that for you. Okay, so this is really the fixed asset section. What we're saying here is we're purchasing all these items in month one, so the beginning of the model. And then we have a startup loan. So we have a startup loan of $750,000 in month one at 10% interest over a 10-year term or 120 months. And so this section down here is going to tell you, based on the assumptions that you have in here, how much cash does the model think you need? How much working capital, how much are you going to spend on fixed assets? What's a buffer that you might need? And then here's how much you have invested. Now, what we notice here is this says starting cash is not sufficient. Okay, so we're going to need to, if we assume, now we're going to go through the revenue and expenses here and maybe make changes, but if we assume that we left the revenue and expenses just as they are, the model says, hey, you don't have enough cash. So I'm just going to adjust this and say, okay, well, looks like we're really going to need to borrow $1.25 million. So if we borrowed 1.25, we invested 250,000, we're at 1.5 total for the project, and we need 1.4. So now it says starting cash is sufficient. So this is something you'll want to come back and kind of check as you go through updating the model. All right, so let's look at how our revenue model works. So we're going to, again, this is a startup, so we have no current patients, but we're going to have an advertising budget. And so again, it kind of depends on your practice type, whether you're kind of advertising direct to consumer or whether all of your business is really going to be referral based. I've got this filled out as an example here where, let's say you are advertising some direct to consumer. So we've got advertising budget, and then we have a cost to acquire a new patient. So we've got new patients from paid ads. So if it costs us $1,000 to acquire a new patient, we're spending $5,000. We're going to acquire 5 new patients from paid ads. Let's say we also have patients from organic sources like referrals, and you can set the number of referrals you expect to get each month. And you can also set a growth rate going forward. So then this growth rate will be applied going forward after the first year. So that's going to tell you the total number of new patients you have. From there, we can say, what's the maximum number of active patients we can have at one time? Because your practice is going to have some capacity in terms of how many patients you could handle. And so we can set this maximum here to kind of make sure the model doesn't kind of run away from us and end up, having more patients than really you have staffing or capacity to be able to handle. And then we can set the average patient relationship length in years. So I put half a year, 0.5 years. And the idea here being that, let's say, it starts out with a couple months of consultation, then you decide, having the surgery, and then you've got a post-op, checkup, that sort of thing. So maybe the whole process of where a patient is kind of introduced to kind of the last time you'd see a patient, maybe that's 6 months on average. So that's what we're looking for here. And so we set that at 0.5 years. And that's going to then calculate the number of active patients we have each month. And so basically as these first 10 patients that you got in the first month, as they hit month 7, they roll off and they're no longer active patients anymore. Okay, so you've got your total number of active patients, and then you have our different services that we're providing in the pricing. So let's say we have a facility fee. Let's say the facility fee here is going to be $30,000. And we're also going to have some cost associated, material cost with the facility fee. So this could be where you kind of have your supplies, materials, cleaning materials, materials needed for the surgery itself. So I just set that to be 10% of the facility fee. And then we've got the average number per patient per year. So basically, how many times is the average active patient going to pay for a facility fee? Well, we're saying they're going to pay once. Okay. And then you have a surgeon fee, a provider fee here of $15,000. They're also going to pay for that once. You can also have an anesthesia fee here. Say that's $5,000. There's some material costs there as well. But let's say maybe not every procedure requires anesthesia. So let's say only 75% of procedures do. So we've got that set to average number per patient per year is 0.75. And then we also have the consultation. So initial consultation, let's say you're charging $300 for that, and you just have one initial consultation. And then you have post-op checkup, $300 per checkup, but you're going to have 2 of them. Okay, so that in total is going to give you then the, average spend per patient per year. And you can set what percentage of the fee you think you're going to be reimbursed here as well. So if you put in kind of the sticker price and then you think, insurance is only going to reimburse, 70% of that or something, you'd want to put in 70%. If you're already kind of discounting these services to the price you actually think you'll collect, then you can just say average percentage fee reimburses 100%. Okay, so from there, the model is then going to calculate your revenue by month based on those assumptions. So you've got your facility fee, revenue, provider fee. And so really what you want to be able to see down here is this is the total number of services performed in each month. So you'll notice like this facility fee, it's not 10, right? So we're saying we're getting 10 new patients here in that month, but they may be at kind of different points in the process, right? And so the model's kind of automatically smoothing that out across the patient relationship length, right? So if the relationship length is half a year or 6 months, these 10 patients are going to utilize these services across that 6-month period, right? And so what you can really see then is the calculation here of how many right here, provider fee. So the reason this provider fee is higher than the facility fee, just to be clear here, this 2.92 provider fee is because you have provider fees being sold by the surgeon as well as the anesthesiologist here, whereas you only have, one facility fee. So you're really doing probably 1.67 surgeries that month, and then you're having, the provider fee plus the anesthesiologist fee showing up in this line. Okay, so the rest of this now is just calculating your projected revenue and cost of materials. So here are your operating expenses here. Now we can set different expense categories here: licensing, rent, utilities, accounting fees, credit card fees if you're accepting private pay, your insurance, and then maybe this is your billing service. So let me show you some examples here where we have the ability to set these expenses as a fixed dollar amount or a percentage of revenue or a per employee expense. So in this example for rent, we're going to set that as a fixed dollar amount, $25,000 a month. But for something like credit card fees, or let's look at insurance billing service as a good example. So let's say you hire a third party to bill insurance for you. That they will often charge a percentage of revenue. And so we set that as a percentage of revenue, and then we set that as 0.06, which is a percentage. So it's 6%. So 0.06 would be 6%. Your insurance costs is like malpractice insurance, insurance for the facility, general liability insurance. We have that set at 7% of total revenue. So these expenses are going to scale as your revenue scales. All right, so last input tab here is our salaries and dividends tab. And what we are able to do here is put in different salaried positions. So we've got a surgeon and we can put them in these categories. So we've set some categories up here, and then we can select them from the drop down. So we've got different providers, we've got nurses, medical staff, office staff. We can set an annual minimum salary here, the percentage employer taxes, benefits we set to 10% of the salary as a default, but you can always change that. And then you can set what month these employees are going to start. So let's just say, for example, maybe you're going to start with just a front desk person, but not an office manager to start with. Maybe the office manager isn't going to start until year 2. So you could put month 13 there and add that position in the future. Now, the other thing is you can add the number of that particular employee. So let's say we are going to have 2 surgical nurses. So we've got a surgical nurse here, and we've got 2 of them to start with. And then you can set an annual raise here. So we have this variable compensation section here, and this could be used for the provider, for example. So let's say we have this surgeon here, and they're going to make an annual minimum salary of $350,000. But you want to be able to compensate them based on a percentage of production. And so let's say this surgeon is just one surgeon at this practice. They are going to be responsible for 100% of the revenue generated. And so they're going to get a commission on that. So let's say it's 20%. So basically, if you did $1 million in revenue in the year, 20% of that is $200,000 for the year, right? Well, $200,000 is less than $350,000, so they're still going to just make their annual minimum salary. However, for the year, there was $2 million in revenue, and they were going to get 20% of that. That's $400,000, which is greater than the minimum salary. So the model's automatically then going to pay them at that $400,000 rate instead of the $350,000. So the way to think about this is they're going to make at least the $350,000 minimum, but if the variable compensation structure ends up calculating out to make them more than that, that would be calculated and built into the model. So keep that in mind. Again, if you need help filling this out based on your specific plans, we're happy to help with that. But this brings us back to our at a glance, and you can kind of see where we stand after entering in all those assumptions. So really, that is it. That's the model. This is going to be what you need to get to present to an SBA lender, potential investors, that sort of thing. If you need any help along the way, reach out to us at support@projectionhub.com. And also, as a thank you for sticking around to the end, I did put a link to a form in the description of the video below. If you fill out that form, we're going to email you our most up-to-date coupon code that you can get access to a coupon code to take a discount on this template. And then finally, if you found this video to be helpful, we'd love it if you subscribe to our channel, like the video. That really helps us try to get the word out and to help other folks as they're trying to create projections. So thank you.